of the live open forum, just something new that I'm trying on YouTube, and we'll see how it goes. Basically, the way that the open forum works is it's exactly what it means. Somebody pops in a question or makes a comment, and we talk about it. So, of course, you always have to have something to kind of start things off with. I don't know how long these things will go. Eventually, they'll kind of determine for themselves how long they should go, but you got to have something to talk about in the beginning. So until people pop in. So today we're going to talk about fleas, right? So we're still dealing with fleas here, even though it's February. They're not as bad as they might be when spring hits or even when we get into the summer, but they're still here. So we've gotten the problem kind of solved as far as Cal goes. We have two cats. We have Cal and we have Grayson. With Cal, we were able to get him the Seresto. I know that's backwards. Eventually, I'll figure out how to flip this on YouTube Lives. But we got Cal the Seresto collar, and he seems to take just fine with that. He's actually been wearing that for a very long time, and we just put a new one on him back in December. We tried it on Grayson, but he didn't like the collars. The collar idea was just a bad idea for him altogether. He wasn't having none of that. So basically, he went around and hid in various places, acted kind of strange for a couple of days. So finally, the wife and I decided, okay, the collar's not for him. We're just going to go ahead and take it off. And as soon as we took the collar off, Grayson got back to normal. So next up, we tried this flea and tick prevention treat. And, we figured, well, the cats like the treats. So if we give him these and he eats them, I think you're supposed to give him 5 or 10 of these a day. Then that goes through his system and it's supposed to help the flea situation. Well, it turns out Grayson really doesn't like those. So we're like, well, what else are we going to do? And now he was to the point where, he was starting to scratch himself, so that his fur was coming out and he's got sores and stuff like that. So, we're trying to help the poor guy out. So now the latest thing is back to these topicals you put between their shoulder blades, and hopefully that'll help. By the way, I am not sponsored by or affiliated with these brands or these products whatsoever. So I guess they're just getting some free promotion from me today. But obviously, I'll accept sponsorships if they want me to sponsor these products. Feel free to give me a call and send a check. But that all aside, I guess one of the interesting parts of that, or parts of this, is that back in the day, many years ago, I was actually in pest control. I worked for a pest control company headquartered in New Berlin, Wisconsin, called Batzner Pest Control, and I worked for them for about 4.5 years. And obviously, fleas were a part of the things that we treated. We treated all kinds of stuff, roaches and mice and rats and you name it. And I did trapping as well, so I dealt with raccoons and opossums and skunks. And skunks were really fun and interesting, but fleas were one of them. And, of course, when I was working in pest control, we had a multitude of industrial grade chemicals and things like that we used in the trade that were very effective with dealing with fleas. Although that being said, I will say this, that out of all of the creatures and varmints and things I had to deal with in pest control, I do believe that fleas were probably one of the hardest ones to deal with. They were the hardest ones to get under control. They were the hardest ones to control, even with the chemicals. And we used to use something called Gentrol. Gentrol was basically, I guess you could call it birth control for insects, right? It affects their reproductive organs and things like that. It makes it harder for them to breed and multiply. So there are chemicals that are of that sort, growth inhibitors in a lot of these products like Seresto and Pet Armor, but they're not as strong when you buy them over the counter as they are, when you're buying or when you're using the chemicals in pest control itself. So we know that we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands if we can't get the fleas at least somewhat under control now in February, when spring and summer kicks in and the bugs really get going. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with that. Looks like there are a few people popping in, not that many, but basically what this is an open forum. So how it works is, people want to ask a question. It could be a silly question. It could be a fun question. It could be a serious question. It's all up to the viewer to decide what they want to ask about. So that's kind of how we, move along on this live open forum. Of course, I got to talk about something until somebody, actually pops in and asks questions. So I leave it up to the viewers. This is the way I do these on TikTok. It's been fairly successful doing them over there. And so I thought, YouTube is a better platform than TikTok is. So why not try the idea here, especially considering that this channel is basically a no niche channel. It never has been. Rob the Maritimer is going to probably be up in arms with me over that. But as he says, you can't be successful with a no niche channel. I do have other channels that are niche down. This just isn't one of them. So that's kind of what the gig is here. And like I said, I just started doing these on YouTube. This will be episode 2 of the live open forum, my second attempt at it. And so they'll go on for as long as they need to go on. If I don't get anybody that pops in and contributes to the forum, then I guess I move on and end it there, and that's the end of that. I know that these things take time. Even the other 2 channels that I'm working on, they're a little bit slow to get started, but they are getting some traction, and so I think it's just a matter of time before something clicks with them. If they get monetized, they get monetized. It's not necessarily my goal. I mean, obviously, I think probably anybody who does anything creator-wise wants to eventually be able to make something doing it, but that's not my goal or objective necessarily. So that's kind of where I stand with that. But yeah, any kind of questions are open here. Whether it be a question about the stock market, be a question about money, a question about life, it could be a silly question, serious question. It doesn't matter. There was somebody in here yesterday asked all kinds of questions about, cosmos, spiritual things, and whatnot. So we kind of played off of that. So I leave it to you to decide. So we talked about the fleas. I guess I could bring up now. We went to Oak Grove, Kentucky, my wife and I. We went to Oak Grove, Kentucky for her birthday. Her birthday was February 6th, which just so happens to be Ronald Reagan's birthday. But we stopped off at Old Glory Distilling Company in Clarksville, Tennessee, and she picked up some moonshine. This one is a Southern Peach moonshine. We went there and tasted bourbons, and she picked out moonshine. Okay, that's what she wanted. So, but they gave us a tour. We had several samplings, and all of it was good as far as I was concerned. But that was the only thing that we brought home as far as a bottle. But they did have some great ball caps, though. The ball cap that I liked specifically had their logo, which was a wooden Old Glory logo on it. They wanted $35 for it. And I thought, there's no way I'm paying $35 for a hat. So I left it there. My wife was kind of insistent. She said, well, if you like the hat, just get the hat. But my thinking is, look, $35 for a hat, they can keep it. I don't need to pay $35 for a hat. It's not that I can't afford it. I just don't want to pay $35 for a hat, So, and when it comes to touristy stuff like that, it always makes me wonder. I understand why they're doing it, because they're putting the logo on it. They figure they can probably get the money, but I do often wonder, how many more T-shirts and hats and other things might they sell if they just charged a little bit less? A guy like me, I would have gladly paid $15 for the hat, but I certainly wasn't going to pay $35. So they lost a sale. So I'm not sure what they gain by jacking the prices up. In any event, nobody is coming in here at all today. I noticed that I do have people that are showing up, but nobody is really, contributing to the live open forum. So, whether or not I continue this one, it's going to take a few times for me to come on here and for people to kind of get a feel for what this is and start having fun with it. And I think we will have fun once it gets going. So, we'll have to see. Most likely what will happen is, and that's how these generally work sometimes, is after it generates a video, if that video gets out to enough people, then they'll eventually recognize what it is. And then if they happen to, pop in or subscribe, then things can really get kicked off. It's sort of the same way it happened on TikTok for me with these. It takes a while to build an audience, and I'm okay with that. Don't have to expect overnight success, right? So, well, I've talked about the fleas. I've shared with you a couple of the flea products that we used. I've talked to you about our little trip to Oak Grove, Kentucky for my wife's birthday and stopping off at Old Glory Distilling Company in Clarksville, Tennessee. Nobody has really left any questions for me to answer or things for me to jump off of. So maybe it's time for me to just jump off of here, and then we'll do this again. We'll keep on trying this. We'll keep at it. I have nothing to lose, right, by doing this. So we'll go from there. Hey, like I said, it can't be an overnight success, but I'll be around to do this again. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, or maybe I will be here. We'll have to wait and see. So y'all have a good one. If you want to check out my Synthetic Echoes music channel, it is basically an extension of my original music turned into AI music. So hopefully that's of interest to somebody. You can find that at Synthetic Echoes Music. That's my YouTube channel for that. It's young. I just started it, even though a lot of the songs that I'm turning into AI songs are better than 20 years old. Figure that one out. So you can check that out if you want to. Or you could also check out my blog at springboardblog.blogspot.com. It may not be your flavor. It is conservative politics mostly. But if that's your thing, that's not what this channel is about. But if that's your thing, go on and check it out. I figured I'd throw in a couple of plugs if I didn't accomplish anything else out of this live or this video. So onward and upward, folks. I'll catch you on the next one. Sorry this one didn't work out. It's a little bit disappointing for me as well, but it is what it is. We'll just move forward. Have a good one.